It's Saturday night, and you know what that means. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, for the start of 2021, and we welcome you to our very first edition of Wrestling Weekend Recap with the one and only Jade. I am Aceman X. And before we begin, we would like to mention our infamous disclaimer stating that everything that is said on this program is um, of course, you know, views and opinions are being expressed by the one and only Jade and Ace Monex, and it does not necessarily reflect the views of the platform that we're on or the wrestling companies that we talk about. And now, don't have a cow, man. Before we begin, we would like to apologize for not being able to do an episode last week because unfortunately at the time uh, Jade unfortunately was coming down with some symptoms. I was coming down with some, more than just one symptom, uh, because this freezing cold that we were dealing with for the last uh, couple of weeks here in Chicago. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I mean, for me, it was ridiculous. But here, I thought dealing with certain symptoms, uh, you know, headache, runny nose, having to deal with chest compression, not being able to breathe, and so forth. Here, I thought, I might have, and thank God it didn't went that way. I thought I might have COVID, so I got tested myself, and thank God, negative, and we were just dealing with normal symptoms. So I'm glad that he's fine, I'm fine. My sister was coming down with something, my mom was coming down with something, but we're all out of the woods, thank God. And and it ain't. It's kind of freezing, kind of cold, freezing right now, but nonetheless, the worst was over. I know we're gonna have some more to deal with, but nonetheless, we're all good, and that's what matters here. Um, but yeah, it killed me not having to do an episode based on what happened, 2 weeks ago and such. So it still kind of pains me because I felt like we were on a roll, within the last number of months, how we started this program and how we were getting feedback from others, and it really said a lot, you know, about this. So we want to thank you guys for staying in tune with us. And we're back. And unfortunately, it ain't going to be, like a beyond an hour or two because, well, what we first want to get out of the way is, of course, 2 weeks ago, we witnessed that, the amount of porn support that was shown for Jonathan Huber and doing the tribute shows, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and especially AEW. They pull out all the stops for one of the best tribute shows to Brody Lee. How his son Brody Lee Jr., uh, now known as Negative One, was incorporated into the show. How they retired the TNT television belt, because that was the belt that his old man wore when he became TNT champion. Even though I heard rumors that, of course, that TNT belt is still going to be revived, but in, I guess, a whole new model and display that's going to be coming up, I guess, in a bit. Um, Pretty much in general, the whole tribute show was just amazing, very emotional. A lot of people spoke their piece, a lot of good things of Jonathan Huber. And of course, at the very end, it was just priceless. Tony Khan, spoke their piece. Um, Amanda and his kids were there, and they received, a major respect and ovation, truly deservingly for a family member who unfortunately is no longer there. But thoughts and spirits and condolences and prayers, were with them on that night and for the family, and that will happen forever and a day. So one of the best tribute shows ever done that AEW never thought they would ever do, but they knocked it out of the ballpark. It was one of the best I've ever seen since the passing of Eddie Guerrero with WWE, back in 2005 in the month of November. But that was then, and this is now. So I think we should start with the Wednesday Night Wars that took place this week. NXT's New Year's Evil, in my opinion, is one of the best episodes I have seen. The action that they put on display was just something that I never thought I would actually praise upon, especially with the matches that took place. Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor for the NXT title. That literally told me that it was going to be a major bill to be due to Kyle O'Reilly for the broken jaw that Finn Balor suffered the first time they met. And boy, I mean, my God, it's something that I even literally felt just by seeing Kyle O'Reilly in pain, but he stuck it out. He answered to every shot that Finn Balor developed in delivering to him. But still, though, the match was just something else. They definitely surpassed the performance that they did the first time around, and I think those two deserve a major ovation. They deserve respect. They put it all out there, and it was another match that I believe would be the best for 2021. Hopefully it doesn't fall in number 10 because I would be somewhat insulted. It's just knowing that they were in number 10 of the top 10 from 2020, their first meeting, I thought it was kind of insulting. But, I hope that doesn't repeat here for 2021. The match with Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley, that was a match that I was so in tune because just as much as I wanted to see a Rhea Ripley, get on that bandwagon and be at her total best, I also wanted to see Raquel Gonzalez flourish even more as a heel. Dakota Kai got involved, and it was expected. It didn't surprise me at all. I was expecting it. And boy, did she got, boxed in a small locker, even though she miraculously fit in it, very well. And, Raquel was just waiting for the perfect spot to catch Rhea Ripley in. And boy, did it pay off at the very end. So I'm glad that rubber match actually had a conclusion. I don't know if it's going to continue on from there, but the rumors are going around that supposedly maybe Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, they could be the ones to be called up for primetime TV, whether going to Raw or SmackDown. So I guess it would be just time to see where all of this lands. But yeah, it was an awesome match that I seen with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. Congratulations to Raquel Gonzalez because, like I said, I want to see that girl. I want to see that woman succeed because I think she deserves it. And she's doing all the right things. So it's definitely paying off. The match with Damian Priest and Killer Cross. Well, he used to be known as Killer Cross. Karrion Kross. Yes, thank you. That was another one that was knocked out of the ballpark. These two tall guys were physical. They answered it off to a point where, like, my God, it was just so brutal. Kind of like the match with Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley. But yeah, their match was brutal. They answered it in such a physical way that it's like, my God, man, who's really going to take it to the limit here? Who's really going to be more effective than anybody because it's like watching two brick walls trying to get at each other. And I felt like, this match, it really gave it its all with these two men going at each other. But something told me that Karrion Kross was going to take this all the way. I wanted Damian Priest to win, but this was Karrion Kross's match back after being injured for quite some time. And it was just a matter of having this match being awarded to him. And it was a hellacious match, a very physical one. That one was pretty good. The Cruiserweight Championship match with Santos Escobar and Gran Metalik. It was a really incredible week for the Lucha House Party, beginning with SmackDown. They had a great match, and it fell in their favor. Same thing with Raw. They had a match that fell in their favor, but I knew that no matter how much input Metalik was gonna put into this match, Santos Escobar had an answer for everything that Metalik was gonna bring him to. Of course, having his two guys with them, and having to interfere here and there in the match. Still, Lince Dorado wasn't going to fall behind either. So that match kind of blended really well. There was a lot of good lucha libre spots back and forth, but I knew Santos Escobar was going to pull it off, and yet he still retains the NXT championship. One of the things that I didn't expect was while Dexter Lumis was the host for New Year's Evil, and he did pretty good. He didn't need to say much. He didn't say anything at all. The pictures were worth a zillion words. But he also made a match while The Way made their way inside of the building, and of course they were gonna, gloat, flaunt the whole 9 yards to what they have already done just by forming as a group. Shotzi Blackheart came out, Kushida came out, and they decided to pair up, and Dexter Lumis just saw an opportunity right there, and of course he made the match with them two and Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. So the match was all right. And it was what it was. And yeah, that was pretty much it. But New Year's Evil. Bottom line, it was a pretty good show. It did deliver to the expectation. AEW, however, Moxley returned. There were some matches that took place. But I want to talk about what happened at the end. I'm going to leave it for the end. Of course, one more time, the segment with the Stinger and Darby Allin, definitely not avoidable when it came to Team Taz, and having to say that, they were going to be as far from these guys either. So it's just a matter of time, I guess, within the second round of New Year's. What was it? New Year's
Smash.
New Year's Smash. Yeah, for the next New Year's Smash to maybe come up with something. Of course, I recall seeing Cody having a match. Snoop Dogg made an appearance, but I also understood that was kind of like a co-promotional thing where Snoop would make an appearance for AEW to plug in, of course, the new show called Go Big Show for TBS. So, he made a camera appearance. I think he did a wrestling move, and that was that. What else? What else do you recall from Dynamite?
I called the 8-man tag match with the Ibert 2 and the Acclaim taking on the SCU and the Bucks.
Yeah, that one was a pretty good match. Of course, the Acclaim, they did their usual rap, and of course the guys they came out with "Your Rap Is Crap," which is a throwback to a gimmick group in WCW in the year '99 with the West Texas Rednecks, and they did the song of "Rap Is Crap" to go against Conan, Rey Mysterio, um, and of course Master P and his squad. That was the I don't know, maybe JR might have had a flashback to where at that time, he was disgusted how MVP was incorporated with WCW because, you know, Master P was a hip hop artist. Um, but I guess what he totally forgot was that he was a wrestling fan and how he was incorporated with WCW at the time and how they were gonna do things together. Um, Master P was only an artist of one single hit. I don't recall any other hits that Master P has done. Um, but his involvement in wrestling, it was far than memorable to say the least. Because right now I'm even actually watching the timeline of 1999 and how Master P was only seen for a little bit just to go against the West Texas Rednecks who had an issue with rap music because they're not down with this thug stuff or whatever it may be, and they're all about country and the good things, and as these rednecks were all about. Um, Sounds kind of stereotypical, but I guess that's how it was meant to be played out. But nonetheless, um, just seeing SCU and the Bucks wearing those shirts of "Your Rap Is Crap." It's like it's a definite throwback. That shirt was a literal throwback to '99 uh, and the West Texas Rednecks with their tour and all that stuff. That's what it looked like to me. But yeah, that was an incredible match. That 8-man tag. SCU pulled off the win. They had a lot of good shots. I just found out minutes ago that supposedly Nick Jackson might have suffered a leg contusion in the match. I hope that's not the case, but if it is, hopefully he gets um, better. Um, any other matches that have taken place that
That
I might
was
have?
the match between Jake Hager and Wardlow.
Oh yeah, that's right. To see who was going to be the ultimate power guy within the inner circle, and I think I'm on the. I hate it. I'm gonna. I fell asleep on that one. Who was the winner of that
It
one?
was Wardlow.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I did caught the when Hager got frustrated in the back. MJF went over there and he kind of gave him a pep talk on saying, "Hey, you're still you. You are a kick-ass guy. You're doing wrestling and you're doing MMA. That's something Wardlow wouldn't do, or maybe that's something that Wardlow wouldn't be interested. But you are basically doing, two things, with your life and your career. Who does that? So MJF did a good job of having Jake Hager reassure of himself and his position and where he's at in life. So as much as I hate that little weasel of MJF for being the son of a bitch that he is, still I like how he repositioned Jake Hager of where he's at and who he is. That's one of the good shots right there that he can say can say with all straightforward man to man. That's a good thing. Um, what else do you recall has taken place on Dynamite?
The AW Women's Title, Hikaru versus Ibadan.
Oh, should have watched the recap. What happened there?
Oh my lord, that was and of course, we don't recall the first time that these two faced off, but in this time, with the AW Women's title stake, it looks like Abaddon did everything she could, and in fact, she went out physical with Hikaru Shida. But no matter how hard she tried, she just failed to take the AEW Women's title.
So Kushida, I mean, no, Kushida. Hikaru Shida still retained the title?
Yes.
Nice. Well, that's good because I recall the last number of weeks before this match, how Abaddon just showed up as a figure of fear, of spookiness, or just something to throw off the champ's game. And Hikaru Shida always seemed, out of it, and that's what Abaddon wanted to do, because Abaddon is a very, very scary-looking, ugly type of woman, but it serves a purpose. So that's one of the strongest suits that Abaddon has when it comes to her presentation, because we knew how big she was in the indies, and that's something that AEW can capitalize, and they have. So seeing the matches that she was involved with on Dark, I knew that she could be ready for Dynamite, because that's where she belonged in reality. She didn't need to be on Dark for as long as she was. She needed to be on Dynamite because that's where her value was at. I really believe that. But it's good that she retained the AEW Women's title. Anything else?
Well, just the main event itself.
The main event, Kenny Omega and Rey Fenix. Unfortunately, I never got to see that match. I'm gonna have to see it in on demand or see the replay clip. But I think Kenny Omega still retained the title, though, right?
Yes.
Did he cheated? Did he pull a fast one on Rey Fenix? Kind of like how we did to Jon Moxley?
No. I mean, the only thing that I remember was the presence of Don Callis, and pretty much Don Callis was the.
Did he stick his tongue into the match?
Yes.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, that's the one thing that I didn't like, because that's how you want to keep this Omega character, with him trying to be Mr. Belt collector from all these different companies, and him to be king of pro wrestling and all this bunk. So while we're already talking, and now that we know how Kenny won the match with the help of one Jackal Don Callis, I gotta be honest. Here I thought, with this angle of Kenny trying to take over the wrestling world and being involved with these wrestling companies, and him trying to be a champion of all these companies. Here I thought that was going to be something new, something fresh. But to be honest, the only thing we've been getting is verbiage after verbiage after verbiage. Barely any action, especially on both shows with Impact and AEW. We've been getting that. But recently, of course, what I saw on Impact, I think 2 weeks ago, when it was the angle with Rich Swann and the Motor City Machine Guns, they had an interview, and they said that they were going to go find the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega in the back. And as they were heading towards them, the Good Brothers and Omega, got Swann and the Machine Guns by surprise. And they just beat the hell out of them. And they got a number over them. And that's a step up, heading towards the pay-per-view event Hard to Kill. Now it all led to what happened this past Wednesday. And of course, once again, Callis rambling on, Omega rambling on. And there were some pretty good lines being thrown around. With Chris Jericho when he was doing commentating. Of course, Jericho, if he still stays in the business once he's done wrestling and he decides to be a commentator, I think he's golden on the mic, to be honest, because, when fans have their ears wide open, they listen, and they listen for anything that is golden out of Jericho's mouth, and that is a given, time and time again. What I'm trying to get at is the fact that when the rambling going on, I'm surprised that John Moxley even decided to get some payback. And that led to, of course, the Good Brothers finally showing up on AEW television. So that was good. And of course, them beating up on Moxley, unfortunately, because of course Moxley will always be my guy. I think he came in with a barbed wire baseball bat.
Mm-hmm.
He got a good shot on Omega, but of course Omega, he had plenty to give on Moxley, that was for sure, because Omega doesn't have anything to protect himself with from those barbed wire baseball bat shots. But Moxley had a shit on, and of course, plenty to do right there. And then, of course, we were seeing kind of like old throwbacks, old nostalgia. It kind of felt like NWO of old in a way, because now you're having, now you got all these guys that were hanging, on the outside watching the matches. Now they're coming in trying to help Moxley, trying to save Moxley, and they all get pummeled down. They all get beat down from the Good Brothers and Omega until pretty much there's no one else. And they were still doing damage. And then all of a sudden, that brought out the Young Bucks. So what was the point of the Young Bucks being there? I'm sorry. It's just that just leading to what I'm about to say, it kind of puts me to sleep. And at the end, what I saw when it was Matt that made it official with super kicking Griff Garrison.
Yes.
When Griff Garrison and I don't know who else decided to come from the back and help out, and had Omega right by the top by the top rope, right in the middle of it, and whoever was that guy got kicked down. Griff Garrison got super kicked by Matt Jackson, and then all of a sudden, this gets thrown up. I'm all like, what? And I'm going to come out and say it. I don't care. I'm all like, what the fuck am I seeing here? I'm all like, really? Because I'm going to be honest right now. I'm still waiting for the Bullet Club to die. Okay? They already peaked in popularity. There's really no reason for them to even be together. But I kind of understand it because, once the Elite left, that's when I stopped watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's really nothing, their popularity is done, they're still going on, but it's like nothing is making me to draw to watch their product anymore, because it's a been there, done that type of deal, and now they're bringing this storyline into the United States, like literally. Like, oh, let's revive the Bullet Club here. Let's revive the Super Elite, the Big Elite, whatever the hell they want to call themselves. They wanted to be the OG Elite, whatever. I don't buy it. And if this is to revive the Bullet Club of old, or the Bullet Club of the second version from 4 or 5 years ago, I'm not even going to be on board with this, because it's like watching the NWO 20 years ago. And 20 years later, this is a concept where it's boring and still as hell. And why should I kid myself when I see the bunch of comments on YouTube of this